In a quiet stretch of Heartland, where the land seems to breathe with the wind and every fence line holds a story, there is a horse that does not belong to anyone in the usual sense. She is not simply owned or trained, she is understood, or at least she is trying to be. Her eyes carry something sharp, something alert, like she has already learned too much from people who thought they knew better. Every movement she makes feels deliberate, like she is always deciding whether to trust the next second or reject it completely. And then there is the rider, someone who does not approach her like a machine that needs fixing, but like a soul that needs listening. Not control, but patience. Not commands, but conversation. At first, nothing about them fits easily together. The world expects obedience, discipline, results. But what happens here is slower, quieter, and far more uncertain. The horse reacts not to pressure, but to energy. If the hand is too firm, she resists. If the voice is too loud, she withdraws. It is as if she is asking a question without words. Do you see me? Or are you just trying to use me? And the rider, instead of answering with force, begins to answer with stillness, with timing, with something closer to respect than instruction. People watching from a distance might not understand what they are seeing. To them, it may look like nothing is happening at all. Just a horse standing, shifting, breathing. Just a person waiting. But in reality, something invisible is changing between them. Trust is not built in a single moment here. It is tested again and again in small choices that no one else notices. A step forward without fear. A pause without tension. A breath that does not break the connection. And slowly, the horse begins to respond differently. Not because she is forced, but because she is given space to choose. There is a shift so subtle, it almost feels like imagination at first.
As time moves forward, what once felt uncertain between them begins to take a slightly different shape, like a conversation finally finding its rhythm after too many misunderstandings. The horse, still guarded, no longer reacts with pure resistance at every touch or signal. Instead, there are pauses now, small moments where she hesitates, not out of fear alone, but as if she is weighing intention. That change is almost invisible to anyone who is not paying attention, but for someone who understands horses, it speaks louder than any movement or command ever could. The rider does not rush this shift. There is no attempt to celebrate it too early, no desire to force progress into something it is not ready to become. Instead, there is patience that feels almost unnatural in a world that usually demands quick results. Every step is measured not by control, but by reaction. If the horse stiffens, the pressure disappears. If she softens even slightly, the moment is held carefully, like something fragile that could break if handled carelessly. And in that space between pressure and release, something deeper begins to form. It is not obedience. It is not submission. It is understanding. The horse starts to recognize patterns not as threats, but as communication. A shift in posture, a calmer breath, a steadier presence. These become signals she begins to trust, even if only a little at first. Trust here is not a leap. It is a slow agreement, written in silence and rewritten every second. What makes this connection so powerful is not how quickly it changes, but how honestly it resists being forced. There are still moments where everything falls back into tension. A sudden movement can undo minutes of progress. A misread signal can bring back that sharp edge in her behavior. But even those setbacks feel different now. They are no longer the language of rejection alone. They are part of the learning process. Like both sides are still figuring out.
And then comes the moment that changes everything. The moment when trust is no longer just a possibility, but something that must be proven. Up until now, most of the connection has lived in preparation. Quiet walks, careful touches, patient waiting.
But sooner or later, every bond is tested. There comes a point where words, routines, and small signs are no longer enough. The horse has to decide whether she truly believes in the person beside her, and the rider has to decide whether that trust is real or only something they hope to see. This moment does not arrive with warning. It comes naturally, almost quietly, like the kind of challenge life places in front of you when you think progress is finally safe. The horse is brought forward, the air around them heavier than usual. Everyone watching can feel it. There is tension, not because anyone expects failure, but because everyone knows trust is fragile. It takes weeks to build and only seconds to lose. The rider approaches without the usual hesitation, not because fear is gone, but because confidence has replaced panic. There is a difference. Fear still exists. It always does around an animal this powerful. But now it is balanced by understanding. The rider knows this horse is not dangerous by nature. She is honest. She reacts to what she feels, not what people assume. As they move together,